So we've made it to the next place. This is the Thames Storage Company explosive site. This is at St Mary's Bay, and we are checking out these explosive stores, these magazines. Joe's just getting some shots there. Bit of a walk to get here. There's about 7 of these buildings. Now, one of them actually burnt down. It caught fire and they had their licence revoked in 1905. I don't think anyone was hurt. So these buildings would have stored gunpowder or some kind of ammunition back at the turn of the 20th century. I think the site was built around 1892. So you can see they've had this sort of these lines scored into the rendering of these buildings, and this was designed to look like ashlar, which is basically squares of stone. And you can see that's been carved in. They've all sort of mossed over now. We've also got bits like this. I think this is a ventilation pipe, ceramic pipe in there, and I think that would basically just let fumes out or keep the air coming in. And here we've got a hole where they would have had the wooden beams which would have held the roof up. Now there's been some debate about the origins of these buildings. Whilst the site was set up around 1892, some people have said that the concrete is actually a bit of a later construction, sometime around the turn of 1900. But the site went out of operation around 1907, so obviously it can't have been built that long after.
It's really weird, the acoustics. So I can hear my voice bouncing off all the walls. So it's strange.
So we're inside one of the buildings now, and you can see we've got these lines running across the walls, and apparently these were to attach some kind of spark-proof material. I'd assume like wooden panels to stop sparks from striking the stones in the concrete so it didn't explode, which obviously didn't work because one of the buildings set on fire. Probably the wood didn't actually help there. And you can see in the entrance we've got this kind of got a bit of the wood still left actually, and then below us we've got this sort of cavity in the ground. I don't quite know what would have gone in there, but I'm assuming there would have been a kind of wooden walkway placed over this. So it is quite an interesting little place this that we're having a look at here. Quite unusual sort of in its design. they're quite old buildings. Clearly they've been abandoned for over 100 years. But it's really interesting to look at it, and who knows, there could still be traces of bits like explosives in the ground. I've actually started working as a researcher for an unexploded ordnance company, so looking at unexploded bombs and trying to find out about risks that might remain from explosive activity. And you do wonder, you know, what could still be left here? There could be explosives under here, but also there could be other artefacts that were used at this site. I'm sure they would have had walkways and other buildings. I think there used to be wooden sheds on this site as well. And who knows, there could be artefacts just left here as they have been for 100 years. So, as with a lot of the places that we explore, it can be the case where once you've seen one, you've seen them all. And that is a bit the case now. But you can see a few more features. You can see the earthen banks which surround the buildings. These are the sort of bunds, the blast walls, and these would have helped to contain the explosion. Also, the way they're designed with the thick sides, but a thin roof probably made out of slate or corrugated iron, it would have just blown straight up off the top if it exploded, and hopefully it wouldn't have created a blast wave outwards which would have spread to other buildings. Also down here, Joe's just spotted this perfectly square pond. It's likely that this was used either to prevent fires, or it could have been used to, I think, discard some of the explosives to sort of render them inert. I know at Wat Tyler Country Park in Essex, they had a kind of pond there that was part of the process. It may have been used for something else, but I know that ponds were used in explosives manufacture around that time. So we have been wondering, perhaps this was the site of the building that burnt down in 1905 and caused the site to have its licence for storing and packing explosives revoked. So perhaps this sort of land, it looks as if something could have been here, and we've got a building there, we've got some other buildings in a sort of grid pattern here, but then there's only this one on the edge. So that would suggest perhaps there could be another one at one point that was here, in line with this row, that's no longer left. We're here at the entrance of another one of the buildings, and look what's on the floor. We've got an original metal door. It's got these little patterned little reinforcing bits. It's got the hinges attached to it still, and it's just made out of metal. There was one in a lot worse condition on one of the other buildings, but this one gives you some idea of how it might have looked like, and you can just imagine that big old metal door on the building itself. We've been noting a few bits and pieces knocking around on the floor next to the buildings like this. These like ceramic slabs of some kind, and what they would have been used for I don't know, but they've got this kind of metallic green paint on them. Perhaps that was for floor tiles or some other kind of tiling in the building. We've got a few other pieces down here, another nice sort of corner piece there, and then look out the front as well. You can see pieces of slate, and this is proper slate. So perhaps these buildings had slate roofs, which is actually probably quite unusual for these sort of buildings, because often they just had flimsy tin or metal roofs designed to blow off in case of an explosion. But perhaps because these buildings are a little bit older than than some of the ones we've visited before, they've got the slightly sturdier building materials. This building here is one of the last ones for us to check out, and this one has got the roof missing for some reason. It's got that triangular roof section gone. I don't know why, perhaps they just knocked it down, used it as a barn or something at one point. Perhaps the fire destroyed the roof on this one, although it does seem quite strange that only the roof would be damaged. So we've just spoken to a local gentleman here, and he's told us about this find that we've just come across. It's actually the roof of a World War I balloon store, some kind of hangar for airships. But this is the roof of that building, and apparently the corrugated metal and the roof has been put on after, but the timber frame inside and the overall shape of this building is original from the First World War still, and I believe this is recorded on English Heritage. And here we go. It's a big old building, and it's not often that you see bits from World War I, let alone something as sort of specialist as this. So the guy was saying this was just the very roof of the building, so there would have been big vertical sides coming down. Probably it might have come out further, come out wider as well. So this building's already huge, so just imagine how big it would have been back in the day and how big these balloons were that they were probably storing in there. Very interesting stuff. And look, we've got an absolutely fantastic view out to the River Thames, back to Essex, which is where we're going to be heading home very shortly. Here in the corner you can just see a little bit of the timber from the inside that's been exposed, and that is probably part of the original World War I hangar.
After looking at the Victorian explosive stores and the First World War airship hangar, we also decided to fly our drone to another of the Hoo Peninsula's amazing historic sites. This one is better appreciated from above, Halstow Decoy Pond. This was constructed sometime in the late 17th century and modified about 200 years later for capturing and luring ducks for food and sport. After landing on the pond's centre, they would be driven into the outer pipes in the four corners of the diamond, where they would then be netted.
So that concludes our little adventure down to the Hoo Peninsula today. Yeah. Have you enjoyed it, Joe?
It has, it's been really good. Real mix of weather. It was sort of hot but really blustery earlier. So can you see me? You can see me?
Yeah.
Hot and blustery earlier, now it's quite overcast and it's gotten a little cooler. So yeah, it's been a good day. I've seen quite a few different things. Been on a nice long walk, probably walked about 8 or 9 miles. So it's been quite good.
It's been good fun, yeah. I think at this point it's you know, exciting just to get out of the house for any reason really. But you know, we've seen some interesting places on top of that. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Beyond the Point. I know it's a bit of a cliche saying that, but do support us and follow our future adventures. And also check out beyondthepoint.co.uk, our website. So see you later.
Bye.